London was full of explorers coming from all over the world, in the midst of not only the turn of the century, but the turn of origination for science and the human race itself, leaving people both nonplussed and buoyant for the future ahead. Even though in these times the way of things were very subjugated for women, since women had one of a few places in society: a wife, a mother, a homemaker. So you can imagine the dismay seeing women scientists and their works being displayed for all to see. Mina was overjoyed by this, seeing the future hold more for women through this time than she ever thought could be possible. For she had always felt out of step with the way things are, and the way a woman should be, holding on to a side of herself that was always seen as misbecoming of a lady, regardless what status in society she had. Mina was a carefree spirit in her nature, but did not show it in public due to the social standing of how she should act, keeping her like a caged bird, seeing a world of possibilities through bars, and never being able to reach out and grasp the wonders in front of her. There was only so much Mina's true nature could stay caged, wanting to break free to be who she is, but due to the confines she lived by, she never knew how to become truly free, and was always thinking, will this change for her? And will she finally be her true self? While Jonathan was away, Mina was asked by her childhood friend to come and abide at her family's home, the Western family, who lived in high-class society. Mina felt uncomfortable by this invitation, but she had taken the offer up, for it would help her to elude her mind away from the obscene of Jonathan's departure, just slightly by being with Lucy to comfort her during this hard time. With her mind ever thinking, will she hear from Jonathan soon?
London, 25th May, 1897. My day started off with such ease, but I have not heard back from Jonathan during his time away, and my worry for him is persistent. I hope that his journey was a safe one, for traveling to a new country must be exciting. While Jonathan is away, I have decided to stay with Lucy and her family, the Westerns. And I know that Jonathan would not approve due to how he sees families that come from high society, believing that their way of life is disrespectful and discourteous to the lower class. Jonathan would be afraid that by living here during his absence, I may become accustomed to the wealth and privilege of the Western family, and I will not be happy to marry and be the wife of a mere clerk in a law firm, and that I will desire someone else. I honestly do not think that Jonathan understands the friendship I have with Lucy, as it is a friendship that reaches beyond the borders of how society deems us in these times. Since I have been a young child, she has never held it against me that I am a mere school secretary, or for the class I am a part of. During Jonathan's parting on this important assignment, I cannot think of a better place to be where I feel safe and reassured. I hope one day Jonathan will not see Lucy and her family in the light he does at present, for she and her family are going to remain in my life no matter what views he has of them, for they have never done anything to hurt me, and have done nothing but treat me with love and respect. Jonathan's view of the aristocracy is that they have enough money and title in society to do as they please with how they talk. But I admire how Lucy is able to speak her mind without feeling unsure to do so.
As the day proceeded in the rich high end of London, Mina continued to write her diary entries while Lucy, ever so quietly, made her way into the conservatory to see Mina not just working, but also doing something else. Lucy, being curious, headed over to reach for her attention, trying to distract her from her continuous attention on her work at hand on the typewriter, and is learning for the position she is addressed to as a school secretary. With each step, Lucy was becoming more curious on what she was writing that in her eyes was distracting her from such a beautiful day rising outside with each passing second. Lucy could not understand how Mina saw this as more important than admiring the beauty of the day ahead, feeling it was her duty to pull her away into more pleasantries.
Oh, Mina, why are you always working when there are so many other things you can do? things that would be so much more interesting and fun than this. Let's go out and enjoy the day to its fullest, Mina. It's such a beautiful day, and you're going to miss it stuck in here working all day. I do not understand why your anomalous Jonathan Harker is forcing you to learn that ridiculous machine, when he himself could have turned down the assignment and demand that you do unspeakable passion on the parlor floor.
Now, Lucy, you see I am trying to work. And it's not Jonathan forcing me to do anything. I need to learn how to work this typewriter to do my work faster and more efficiently for the position I am in. So I have to dedicate time to this every day. Also, Lucy, how can you talk of such things? Jonathan is too much a man of respect and honor. He would never dream of doing the obscene things you have just addressed. In marriage, there are more important things than carnal pleasures that are at the heart of a foundation.
Mina, I'm just saying that you two have been together for quite a while now, and you're telling me that not one thought has gone through your mind on these so-called obscene acts of such passion for one another. You're telling me truthfully that not once have they ever arisen, for I would find that hard to believe, given the way I see you two stare at one another. Mina, you cannot fool me. I'm your best friend, after all.
Best friend or not, these matters are not ones to be addressed so openly. There is such a thing as privacy to one's matters, Lucy.
Come on, Mina. You know that I'm only asking because best friends should never keep secrets. So, tell me, Mina, what's happened between you and Jonathan?
Well, we've kissed, that's all. He thinks he is too poor to marry me, thinks I could do better. Hearing him say that devastates me, because I love him so dearly. Why would he ever think that his status, or anything of the sort, would intrude for how I feel for him?
Oh, Mina, it's going to be okay. I can assure you, for when the heart's involved, nothing can come between that connection. But at least you have someone. Here I am, almost 20, with no marriage proposal to speak of. I need to be betrothed soon, or I'll be labeled a hack.
The night ahead, Lucy's family threw a party for a social standing of class and taste, where so many people of standing arrived. A night that made Mina feel completely uneased, due to her feeling that her presence was one that should not be there, among such status of London's high society, and to be invited to be a part of this evening was an honour, but at the same time felt like a form of duty, since she was staying at the West End's house. Mina stood in the corner near the huge luxurious curtains that could hide her presence if need be, but made her comfortable enough to be standing between them, so she could be seen, but not overly observed. Being on the outskirts of the party, where she was not much noticed, was a way to be there, but not be a part of it all at the same time, being respectful in all regard she could get in present situation. As the night progressed, the only endless thought going through Mina's head was about Jonathan and his travels, for her worry was visible to see, but for the night she tried to enjoy the moment for what it was. But no matter how she tried, all efforts failed. The endless questions she prayed to get answers for, waiting and waiting, thinking to herself she had never gone so long without hearing from Jonathan. Over a week had started to pass and no letter could be seen arriving, and her worry was getting worse, coming up with thoughts of all kinds of things that could have gone wrong on his journey to this distant assignment. Would Mina receive this letter? Would her mind be put to rest? And deep down, would she want the answers forthcoming ahead?
My first week here has been filled with unease, for I could feel someone watching me with their eyes embedded in my skin, with every inch of me shivering and with ice chills running through my veins. This feeling persisted throughout every single night, with nightmares full of mysterious voices I never heard before. These voices were seductive and alluring, saying things that were being whispered slowly. These voices felt so near that the dream felt surreal. Imagery flashed through my head, showing a place that I never seen before, looking darkened and morbid with stairs leading down to a place covered in blackness. The seductive voices were leading me down with each step, becoming closer and closer to the unknown darkness, and each night coming closer to the darkened last step before the black nothingness lying ahead, were these voices edging me to come into this darkness, to come to them. As each night made me closer, I woke in a cold sweat, my entire body trembling from head to toe, finding in disbelief what I had just experienced, thinking to myself, could a place like that really exist? Could these voices that were so alluring and seductive, calling me every night, really be in my imagination? Or could they be real? And thinking they might be real was a terrifying thought that had left me feeling numb. For I had never heard such enticing, seductive voices that were filled with such longing and lust, that in my dreams made it feel like only I could satisfy this longing. Every night I dreaded to go to sleep, due to each night being the same nightmare which I had no control over having. The only thing I know is that nightmare and that darkness has left me more confused and more determined to know what is going on here.
Come to us, Jonathan. Come into the
Rising from my slumber, I made my way to the archway of a window and saw the sun was setting, questioning how this could be. How could I have slept the entire day without knowing the time? With the confusion in my head growing more, giving me 1,000 questions I had no idea the answers to. Could it be my mind playing tricks on me? Could it be something more? This nightmare has had me drawn in so much that trying to understand it was out of my consciousness to comprehend, for I have never experienced a nightmare like this that keeps reoccurring with a never-ending loop of the same actions, except each night I get a step closer to the darkness that seems to lead me to some sort of danger that my emotions know of, warning me to stay away but my body failing to listen, and ever more luring me towards the deadly darkness that is never ending, and my only escape is when I wake. I can still feel the stillness and chilling coldness of that nightmarish place running through my body, every inch of me feeling like someone or something has laid claim on me with a tight grasp and refuses to let go. Even when I close my eyes for the briefest moment, I see the place in my nightmare so vividly. Why can I see this place still? Why does it play games on my soul?
As Jonathan watched the sunset slowly fade with each passing second, he saw the beauty of it, inhaling in the warmth he felt in the air and feeling it on his skin, taking away the chill he felt from the nightmare that still haunts his thoughts. Looking up to see a sky that looked so mesmerizing, captivating him to see a sight that he never really appreciated until this moment. All the years seeing the sun setting, and never did a sky look more stunning than this moment, blending together to make the perfect mix of 3 colors, pink, orange, and lilac, but at the bottom, there was a slight touch of a darker color. The color red was slowly fading into the blackness of the night sky that was fast approaching. This red looked like it was bleeding into the blackness of the sky, and with every moment that passed, the darkness creeped nearer and nearer, starting to eclipse the sky like a velvet sheet being placed over the light, or a candle that's beautiful dancing flames had been blown out, leaving nothing but dancing grey smoke in pure black nothingness, looking like the smoke was waving a goodbye to the light, once illuminating so brightly. As time was passing by, Jonathan was still watching the beauty of the sky in its fading moments, but his mind was still fixated on a nightmare he was trying to place into some kind of rational logic idea that could make sense of why such a nightmare could happen, since he had never seen or heard of such things before this very week of staying at Count Dracula's castle. Nothing Jonathan thought of could explain it, but the one sentence that went through his head since he woke was, why did that nightmare happen here of all places? And why now?
Good evening, my friend. Did I startle you? Excuse my intrusion, but I have come about the letters I requested. Have you written them? Good. Thank you for being so prompt with these letters. I will make sure they are sent with care in the morning. While I am here, I would like to address some matters that I think you need to know about my lands and castle. You see, this castle is very old, and there are very bad memories attached to it. Ones that should not be disturbed and left to rest. Be warned. See, the legacy of my bloodline over the centuries has not been a smooth one, and the sins of my forefathers have left a reverberation through the ages that still lives on in these walls to the present day. So, for your safety, I implore you to take heed of my warning and stay to the confines of your room and certain parts of the castle.
The appearance of Dracula at my doorway of the room I was residing in was unnerving, due to my mind being so fixated on the events that not long ago I experienced in my nightmares. Dracula's expression looked cold and inhuman, giving me a stare that seemed to look straight through me like he could read my thoughts and know everything on my mind at that very moment. His stare was bone-chilling to me, taking the warmth I had regained completely away within seconds, leaving my bones with a numbness that felt like needles being stabbed into me. During his stare at me, I kept my composure, and within seconds Dracula glided through the room towards me effortlessly. My mind rushed to the thought of how fast he was, and how cold the room became with his presence. As Dracula stood in front of me, he demanded the letters he asked me to write, with an outreached hand that looked like no other hand I had seen before. His hand looked very white, with thin, outstretched fingers, and the palm looking like fur you would see on an animal's paw. Looking at Dracula, I did as instructed, and handed over 3 written letters, one to my firm, one to my family, and the last one to my beloved Mina. My fingers trembling as I grabbed the letters, turning around to pass them over with an overwhelming desire coming over me, telling me to not hand them over, due to I know that when I did, that whatever fate laid ahead of me here would truly be sealed. In the letters I had written, I was very vague about my feelings and fears of being here in Dracula's castle, for I had a feeling that Dracula for sure would read them before sending them off to my loved ones across icy oceans. As I handed over the letters, Dracula took them with one quick movement, while a smile grew across his face. I looked at his smile, and I know it was not one of happiness, but more smirk, like as if to say silently, "I have won." This unpleasant smile lingered for a while, and I realized that he was looking at a particular letter that was on top. and realized the letter was addressed to Mina. After his long look at her letter, Dracula eventually tucking them into his cloak away from sight and my reach, I wondered worriedly what would happen to these letters now in his possession, and why did he look at Mina's letter longer than the rest? My mind started to think about Mina, thinking of how, by writing her a letter, have I put her in mortal danger. Dracula looked over to me, his eyes staring right into mine, and his eyes looked lifeless. Again, a cold chill ran down my spine. Within moments, Dracula started talking to me more about not exploring his castle, going into much more details than I felt I needed to know. This made me more suspicious, thinking to myself that he must be hiding something if he's this persistent about most of his castle being forbidden property to see. What could he be hiding in the darker parts of the castle, and why, even though I am awake, I still hear women from my nightmares whispering to me like a luring melody trying to hypnotize me into submission? Is my mind starting to go insane? Am I starting to fabricate their existence into my own? Nothing is making sense anymore, and it's shocking me to my very core.
Jonathan, we are waiting for you. Jonathan, come into the darkness, Jonathan. Jonathan.